Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to all my beloved listeners. It's so nice to always record new episodes. I'm really enjoying it. I love seeing this podcast grow. I love encountering new listeners. I'm very touched, by the way, every time I get a feedback by email from some of you who take your time to let me know how you're touched, how this podcast affects your life and opens your mind and heart. So thank you for that. Now, for those of you who are new here, first of all, I want to welcome you. In this podcast, we discuss numerology as the path for inner transformation, inner growth, self-understanding. And my personal approach is trying to make numerology accessible, applicable, and grounded so you can use it for everyday life matters. Now, a couple of things you should know if you want to dive deeper into numerology. The first thing is that I highly recommend you get yourself a numerology reading. A numerology reading is a brilliant way to get to know yourself, your journey, the deep intentions of your soul during this lifetime and how to connect to them, how to align with your path, and how to face the challenges that your life throws at you. Excuse me. Now, you can contact me through my website link to get a reading. The link is provided in the podcast and episode description. Secondly, if you are defining or redefining your career, and if you want to pursue numerology as a career, as a spiritual career, I want you to know that I offer a full path of certification from beginner to expert numerologist. Again, you can check out the links in the podcast and episode description to read much more, and you can contact me in case that calls you. And last but not least, if you haven't done so yet, I welcome you to join my Facebook numerology group. The link is found in the podcast's main page. You can also find it on Facebook directly if you can't find it on the podcast. The name is Numerology, GPS for the Soul. Okay. Having said all of that, let us dive into today's topic. Today we're going to talk about, it's more like a contemplation, okay? Probably will be a shorter episode than usual, but I want us to dive into a certain, we can say more philosophical, well, it's not only philosophical, to be honest, it's also a practical, contemplation about numerology and whether numerology can reveal if you are a young or ancient soul, or in other words, can numerology reveal or tell us anything about the level of evolution of our soul, right? We know if you've listened to my episodes, right, or if you read some numerology books or some good articles, you've probably noticed that, right, we talk about life path and expression number and all kinds of traits and descriptions of our blueprints and characteristics, and challenges, sometimes even traumas and so on. But these are all things pertaining to this lifetime, right? To the persona that I am, the person that I am in this life. But can numerology access that deeper layer, right? Behind the blueprint, behind the personality, behind this current incarnation and tell me something about my soul, right? So let's dive into that and explore this. We approach numerology because we want to know as much as possible about ourselves, right? Why are we here? Why am I here? What's my true purpose in life? How can I grow and evolve in harmony with the universe? How can I be aligned with my destiny? And so on. Naturally, many seek deeper answers to the journey beyond this lifetime and seek to know more about their previous lifetimes and even directly, as mentioned earlier, about the evolution of their soul, right? Am I new here? Or am I a bit more ancient and experienced? Now, there are many methods for self-knowledge, self-understanding, self-investigation out there. Just to name a few, I'll say astrology, numerology, palmistry, sometimes also called curology, human design, the Enneagram. Okay, so these are just like a few methods. I'm sure there are more that I'm not aware of. Each method provides unique perspectives about our journey. Many intersect and match, some less, but more importantly, every method has its strengths and limitations. And what I want us to kind of like contemplate about, in this episode, is whether numerology, right? Because that's my expertise, whether numerology can reveal the degree of evolution of one's soul, right? Again, in other words, is my soul old or young or anything in between, right? Now, I'm going to share with you my experience. And just to give you a little bit of context, right? So I'm an expert numerologist. I give readings to many people from many cultures in all ages. I teach numerology. I'm a numerology teacher, right? So I also teach people and train them to become professional numerologists. Part of my students are actual professional numerologists themselves. So, right, they come to me in order to expand their knowledge. I'm giving you this context just so you understand that I've met many people of all walks of life. I met other professional numerologists. I've really kind of blended and involved myself in this field very deeply. And from this kind of experience, I'm going to share with you my own thoughts about this topic. So, in my experience, numerology reveals the energetic blueprint, okay? And by blueprint, I mean the vessel through which I will be expressing myself in this lifetime. Personality, energetic composition, mental and emotional, tendencies and inclinations, and even some of my, life setting and environment, right? Which can be very often seen by looking at the period cycles, but not only. So I can see these kind of changing seasons of my life. I can see, right, my strengths, my weaknesses, my talents, some of my blockages. So again, a lot of the blueprint, the vessel of who I am as a person. Numerology, in my experience, reveals what my soul chose to focus on, right? To learn, to master, to embody during this lifetime, right? For example, if you look at the life path number, you're going to see what the soul chose in terms of like the core, the most central lessons that it wants to understand, to unravel, to unpack, the qualities it wants to embody, right? So if I look at these, 5 core numbers, okay, that we're all made of, and especially the life path, the expression number, and the soul urge, I'm going to see like, what has my soul put before itself as like a goal, as a trajectory to experience and to kind of embody during this lifetime? What are the main talents, the main toolbox, but also the main challenges, right? And even traumas, by the way, and how do we see all of these? By looking at the interaction between the numbers. And if you want, you can listen to my episode about, I don't remember the exact name, but I think it's something along the lines like number combinations, right? This interaction between numbers that is not talked about sufficiently in the world of numerology, but it's actually the blood and flesh of numerology. So I've noticed, and here I'm going to just say it, very openly. I'm going to drop that honesty bomb. I've noticed over the years that I never managed to predict a person's degree of soul evolution. we can say. No matter what their numbers were. It simply didn't add up. Now, just to be a little bit more practical, many of us think about like numbers as, like, say 7 or 9 or 6 as mature numbers, okay? So we see, let's say, a person with a life path number and an expression number 7, life path 7 and expression number 7, maybe like a soul urge 9 and then another 6, whatever. We see all these very mature numbers, and some people say, oh, you're like a very old soul. I would actually not agree with that statement. In my experience, even if all the chart is filled with mature numbers, like 6, 7, and 9, it promises nothing. Or it's really not revealing of the level of development of the soul. What it does show is that it shows, what the soul wants to learn and embody during this lifetime. For example, maybe in a past lifetime, I was more focused on childlike energies and more selfish energies. In this lifetime, my soul has decided I need to, to focus on the more mature, the more responsible, the more deep, the bigger picture, to learn to expand, right? Stretch my boundaries. And oftentimes, that's exactly what I see. Right? So I don't necessarily see that because people have more mature, quote unquote, numbers, their soul is more mature or more ancient, right? I cannot say they're an old soul because their numbers have this kind of like old flavor, or mature flavor to them. I can definitely say that the personality or the vessel they will be using to express their soul has more kind of, deeper inclinations, maybe a bit more thoughtful, maybe a bit more philosophical, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're an old soul. That's fascinating, right? And I'm saying this only out of experience, right? No matter, for example, how many master numbers and, these mature numbers, it never showed, like, really, like, as a matter of fact, that somebody is more mature than another. People may be more inspired, for example, or are more talented, but talent doesn't mean anything about the level of evolution, spiritually speaking, of a soul. People have many talents and can be young souls. People can be not very talented, but be very, kind of like an all-round, wise, experienced soul. Now, nevertheless, like, having said what I just said, in some occasions, indeed, these numbers and the soul embodying them turned out to be highly evolved, right? This does happen, but again, it's not like a promise. So it's not like the numbers were the proof for an evolved soul. It sometimes, happens to kind of like happen in the same person, that both the soul is evolved and the numbers it chooses to express itself are also the more mature numbers, right? So no, I cannot really say that like it has anything to do with the numbers. I don't have any proof for that so far. Okay. Now, before I keep going, just a quick reminder of the importance of getting yourself a numerology reading. Guys, this is one of the best ways to get to know yourselves, for yourselves, what numerology is, what it feels like, the empowerment and the acknowledgement that it gives to you, the life-changing effect that it has on you and on the people around you. So I really recommend contacting me to get yourself a numerology reading. You can do that through the link provided in the episode and podcast description. Contact me directly, ask for a numerology reading. We'll take it on from there. And then the second and very important thing is that if you wish to pursue a spiritual career, such as being a professional numerologist, then I want to remind you that I offer a full path of certification from beginner to numerology expert. So just contact me directly to know more. Now, coming back to our topic, I've also seen people with simpler numbers. Okay, now simple numbers, I'll just give a couple of examples. We have number 3, we have number 4, we have number 5. By simple in this context, I mean numbers that are more, they approach life with less complexity. Okay, their rules or the way they kind of look at life is more simplistic. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily shallow, but it means that their approach is less multi-layered. So I met people with 3s, with 4s, with 5s that are deeply evolved souls, really wise souls. By the way, just to give you an example, Thich Nhat Hanh, the great, wonderful, spiritual teachers of our times, who passed away, I think, a year and a bit ago. He is a 3 life path. So, right? So that's really incredible when you think about it. I mean, what do we know, right? It's very humbling. So, I've also seen, by the way, charts that are very conflicted, yet are very evolved souls. Like there's a very evolved soul behind these conflicts. Like a soul chooses these conflicts because it wants to work out its own karma, for example. Sometimes, evolved souls or ancient souls, they choose a conflicted setting or a more, heavy karmic load in order to not only work out their own karma, but then also help the world, help the collective. So process universal karma, collective karma. So guys, in other words, I didn't find any pattern of numbers or number combination that can predict, how evolved a soul is, a soul behind the chart. Now, this is deeply humbling and just only comes to show that there is much more mystery, to us than our numbers. The numbers show us a whole lot about our soul's choices and even some knowledge about previous lifetimes, okay, but not really. Like they show us, for example, how to live in alignment with our soul's choices during this lifetime. And by the way, this is like, to be honest, this is much, much, much more important than just like, knowing whether we're ancient or young or whatnot. What does that even matter? This is just like ego material, to tap ourselves on the shoulder. Oh, I'm an ancient soul. Who cares? What's most important that we do the work today, and that numerology helps us do. And that's the most precious thing, the most evolutionary thing, right? If you want to grow, then just focus on the work. Don't focus on some kind of egoic image of yourself. So I don't see that. I didn't find that the numbers reveal the light behind the forms, behind the vessel, the soul behind the number. This is my experience. And in my experience, this remains a mystery and can be discovered only by really getting to know the person well. So that's how I, over time, for example, get to know my students and get to see, where their soul is, how much experience or lack of experience there is, in that specific person. So, kind of to sum it up, my understanding so far is that numerology can show what the soul intends to do during this lifetime and how to align with it, but doesn't have the capacity to reveal the level of development of the soul. Humbling, right? Really, really humbling. Okay, guys, I really hope, as always, it keeps inspiring you to go deeper into numerology. I think it's just an incredible method. It's really a love that is only growing for me. You'll find me reading and rereading numerology materials in coffee shops and just enjoying learning and researching and comparing and looking at people. And it's an incredible joy. And the privilege of helping people and supporting people's paths is a true gift. And this is why I always remind you, first of all, to get yourself on numerology reading, because that's a way to know yourself. A way to connect to this method, a way to understand how it can impact you in your life. So that's why I recommend, contacting me through my website and getting yourself a numerology reading, and also to really consider pursuing numerology as a career. And as I already said, I offer a full path, a certification from beginner to expert numerologist, and you can contact me directly to know more. The links are provided in the episode and website and podcast description. That's it, my friends. I wish you well wherever you are, and as always, I'll see you in the next episodes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.